Oh, this boy done lost his mind. Yeah, we better get this video started before the pom-poms come out. Yep, too late. Oh boy, yeah, it's gonna be that kind of video. Okay, I don't know if it's my blood sugar level or if I'm just tired. Yeah, I'm a little crazy. You guys already knew that. This week, I kind of thought of just shaking it up a little bit and changing certain things around. Now, last week, you saw me do some recaps or just highlights of past videos. And as I was looking through those videos, I kind of thought, you know, let's try and shake things up with the video format and let's make it a little bit more interesting, maybe more entertaining in certain cases. So this week you're gonna see some differences to the videos in terms of the format and how I do things. I'm gonna actually start to do a little bit more voiceover stuff and hyperspeed, and just to keep it a little bit more interesting and we're not doing the same things over and over and over and over and over. Let me know how you guys like this new shakeup or this new format. Not to say that every video going forward from here on out is going to be in the same format. So if you like the old format, well, maybe we can do a mixture of two because we're not going to satisfy everyone. Point is, we just want to keep it fresh. We want to keep it interesting. Of course, we want to keep it fun, right? No, I'm just experimenting, but let me know what you guys think after you watch the entire thing. And by the way, you probably do want to watch the entire thing because, well, I'll give you some updates about what's been going on with my life and what's going on with this channel as well as with the Facebook group. So, but this week, we're doing a double disappearing 9-patch block. Yeah, say that fast 10 times. Double disappearing 9-patch, double disappearing 9-patch, double disappearing 9-patch. Forget about it. So let's get started on this week's block. So to make this week's block, we're going to start off with 5-inch squares rather than the 3-inch squares that we've been using in weeks past. So I got 5 prints and 4 of a background. Now when it comes to your background squares, for me, I'm just choosing this white again. I know, I can already hear you guys rolling your eyes. Again? But there's 4 backgrounds, again, 5-inch white squares. Now when it comes to the print squares, there's 5 of them, but as you can see here, I chose a variety of different colors. Now, I'm doing this purposely because I wanted to make it look really scrappy. So how we're gonna construct this block is we're gonna do our regular 9-patch block, but we're gonna actually have 2 rounds where we're gonna cut and swap the pieces. So in order for that to really work, I'm using a variety of different colors. When you pick out your fabrics, make sure that your print squares, well, just give a good variety. They don't have to be within the same color or family color. You can go totally off wall and, hey, make it wacky. Remember, it's your quilt, it's your block, you do how you want to do it. I'm gonna actually lay this out and just kind of see where I want these, especially these print fabrics to go. I'm gonna put the 2 purples opposite of each other. Maybe, I know I want this yellow in the center. We'll see about this. I think this looks okay. So, yeah. So let's start sewing our 9-patch. It's just water, this guy's weak. Did I really just say that? It's just water, this guy's weak. It's just water this week, guys. So here we have our block all sewn together, and again, just like in weeks past, when I sewed the squares together, I pressed the seam allowances toward the print fabrics. But when I sewed the rows together, here you can kind of see I kind of pressed the seam allowances open, and that's just to help deal with the bulk. Okay. Now I did have another problem where the seam allowance kind of flipped over, but it seems like that's not too major of an issue. A lot of people say that they run into the same problem and they just snip it like how I did in, what was it, last week? Yeah. If that does, or if this happens to you, just use your snips and cut the seam allowances, but don't cut through the seam itself, and just make the seam relax. I'm gonna get the big ruler, well, the bigger ruler. So I just recently remembered, and again, this is why we clean our sewing spaces or our quilting rooms, right? That I have this 6.5 by 18 inch ruler that was hiding in a corner back there somewhere. I'm gonna start using this ruler on the big blocks, okay? So here is how we are going to cut this. Now, we started off with 5-inch squares. Half of 5 inches is 2.5. So there's two ways that you can do this first round of cuts. You could measure 2.5 inches from the edge of the fabric and cut it on all 4 sides. Now I'm going to cut this side 2.5 inches. Then I'm going to switch to the right side and cut 2.5 inches. Then cut 2.5 inches from the top. And then 2.5 inches, whoops, from the bottom. Now, if you're like me though, sometimes your edges, like you can kind of see here, not exactly perfect, and it's probably because I didn't cut the fabric perfectly. I am human, not a machine. So instead of cutting the sides 2.5 inches, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to measure from the center seams here, and I'm going to measure 2 1/4. I'm taking the center seam here. We're going to cut 2 1/4 off. So here is 2 1/4, and I'm slicing this side off. Now we'll do the other side. 2 1/4. That looks pretty good. No, a little bit off there. Okay. We'll slice that off. So both of these strips here should measure 2.5. Let's see. Right on the money. Now I'm going to cut the top and the bottom, same thing. Now notice in previous blocks, I believe it was the Tiffany Star block where we did this, and some other blocks. I can't quite remember just yet, but we did cut the sides off, and then we kept those cut pieces in place, and then we went ahead and cut the top off. This time around, we're gonna remove those sides. Now we're gonna cut the top and bottom the same way. So here is my center seam. I'm gonna put the 2 1/4 inch mark right there. Line it up on that seam. We're gonna cut this. And again, if you wanna double check it, this should be 2.5. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Turn it around. 2 1/4. lining it up on that center seam here. Measure twice, cut once. Or else you have to redo it. Yeah. That's a good rule to live by. 2.5. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. I don't know if I had it exactly in this orientation, but look at what we got now. So here was the original 9 patch. Okay. Then we cut off the left and the right pieces, and we separated the top and the bottom. Now we have fun because we're gonna swap it all. So I'm gonna switch the bottom piece here with the top piece. Then, yep, you guessed it. Left piece goes where the right piece was, and the right piece switches with the left. So now we sew these pieces back up again. So let's get to sewing again. We did our first round of cuts and we sewed our pieces back together. Now, I forgot to mention one little thing, and that is, okay, so here is the left piece and the right piece. Well, I don't know if it was exactly in this orientation, but the two side pieces, in other words, okay? When you sew this, or after you do the first round of cuts and you sew it back together, yeah, the top and bottom piece here, it's going to be a little bit shorter than the left and the right. After we sew those pieces together, we're going to do a little bit of a squaring up. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I have the block, have the pieces all nice and flat. And again, I press my seam allowances open. There's some that kind of flipped, but I'm not going to let that bother me. Take a sip. Well, again, it's only water, so. But you know what? Knock-on cutting board. I'm actually doing pretty good this block. At this point, the block should actually measure just under 12 inches. I'm gonna cut it at, please excuse me while I consult my ruler and measurements in quilting math. 4 plus 4, that's 8, plus 4.5, so 12.5. Yeah. So measuring from this seam out should be 4 inches. Yeah. Well, at this point, it ain't gonna matter because I'm just gonna cut it off anyway. I'm gonna put my 4-inch line or my 4-inch mark on the ruler, and I'm gonna line it up against this, again, this center seam. And what we're doing is we're just squaring up the block. So at this point, I want the block to measure, what did I say? Wait, 4, 12.5. In my case, there's a lot of excess here. I'm just going to trim all of that off. Turn it. Same thing. 4-inch mark going on this seam here. Here we go. Let's slice that off. You ever get the feeling where you try to organize and you end up being so disorganized that maybe having everything disorganized keeps you organized? Go figure that one. We have our block here all nicely trimmed to 12.5 inches. Okay, so now remember when I said you want to get a good variety of print fabrics? Well, this is why. If you were to do all of one single print, you won't get this kind of, how do you say, what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, think, take a sip. Scrappy. You won't get this real scrappy look, and that's kind of what the point of this block is. You really want to get a good scrappy mix of fabrics in here. So having the same print, like if I went all with this purple color here, you won't get that effect. So again, when you choose your print fabrics, choose a good variety of fabrics that kind of look good together, or they might not necessarily look good together, but when you start cutting it up, sometimes you'd be surprised. So we're done with round 1. Now we're going to cut it again for round 2. Then we're going to sew it back together again. But this time we're going to cut it right down the center vertically and horizontally. Let's get to that. This time I'm going to put the 2 1/4 inch mark on my ruler, which is right here. I'm going to match it on that center, or one of the center seams, or on this seam here. And when we cut it, we're going to cut it right down the center vertically. So here we go. Putting the 2 1/4 inch mark. Did I say 2 1/2? No, it should be 2 1/4. See, again, measure twice. Oh, I almost screwed up. Measure twice, cut once. Hold on. Think about it twice, measure twice, cut it once. There we go. Now, I'm gonna give it a 1/4 turn. And do the same thing. 2 1/4. Right on the seam here. And we're gonna cut it. Now, fun part number 2, we swap. I'm gonna swap. How am I gonna do this? We'll swap these 2 corner pieces. There we go. Now again, you can arrange these blocks in any manner you want to. Well, you know what? Let's have fun for a second here, because I might change my mind. As you can kind of see, there's different layouts that you can do. So pick a layout that you like to do. Now I'm gonna stick with my original plan, although I was that close to swapping it. Let's stick to the original plan. So let's get this block sewn. You know, last week I actually made a big mistake which confused a lot of people because, well, I sort of released 2 videos on the same day within a few hours of themselves. I wasn't planning on doing that. What was really supposed to happen was that one video, week number 30, that video was actually supposed to come out first. Then later on the following Wednesday, or actually this past Wednesday, the video for when I was making the gift basket, that's when that video was supposed to come out. But I think I got a little bit anxious and just posted both videos at the same time. So I do apologize for the confusion on that. But hey, you got a double dose of, well, me. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. Hopefully it's a good thing. If you haven't seen that video where I was kind of reminiscing about the first half of this whole series, I introduced you to something that I call the Sewing Side Chat. Now, we've been doing this segment for every single video, basically. And it's just where I kind of just take a break for a minute and just talk to the camera directly to you guys. And sometimes it's a serious discussion. Sometimes I just do a little bit of a, what shall I call it? A funny moment. It's been a regular segment without me even pointing it out. And some of you have caught on to it. Maybe others didn't even realize it until I'm pointing it out to you now. Here is this week's Sewing Side Chat. A few updates. For those of you who have been paying attention to the Treasure Heart Creations Facebook group, you do know that, well, we already have a winner for the midway giveaway, or the mid-celebration giveaway. What was I calling it? The halfway mark celebration. Yeah, we had a major giveaway, put it that way. But we still have one giveaway still going on, and that's with our One Step Forward campaign. Now, if you haven't heard about this yet, well, you can go back a few videos, I think starting from week 25. Yeah, I think it's 25. But anyway, well, let me give you a brief recap. You've probably set some goals earlier this year, and by now maybe those goals kind of are falling to the wayside. So I thought of doing this campaign that I'm calling One Step Forward, where every month you set a goal for yourself to take action towards those goals, or as we like to call them, New Year's resolutions. Month by month, you set a goal to take action, and it doesn't have to be that you accomplish the entire goal itself. It's just taking one step toward that goal. So since the announcement of that campaign, many of you have been mentioning, hey, okay, for the month of February, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to organize my quilting space. That's me. I'm going to lose weight. That's me. I'm going to eat better. That's definitely me. And, they've been coming up with all sorts of goals, whether it's getting a certain amount of blocks done. Maybe you want to get one of your works in progresses done. Maybe you just want to go a whole week without drinking soda. You know who you are. Or maybe you just want to not eat sugar. That's me. But whatever the goal is, just put a post in the Treasure Heart Creations Facebook group about what your goal is for the month of February. And as I mentioned, I was thinking about just as an added incentive, I was thinking about doing a prize giveaway. Well, I finally found what that prize giveaway is. But if you want to find out, you're going to have to join the Treasure Heart Creations Facebook group. So sign up. The link is in the description below. And what am I doing for my February One Step Forward? Well, that's one of them. But organizing my quilting space, that's the other one. And so I found the prize giveaway because I forgot about something that was tucked away in a corner. And as I was organizing my space, I found it. I will tell you this, it is valued at over $130. Yeah, so it's a pretty big, sizable prize. If you want to find out what it is, join the Treasure Heart Creations Facebook group. A lot of you regulars who have been watching these video series weekly, you know that I was recently diagnosed with diabetes or type 2 diabetes, and I had a major diet change. If you saw that video of me trying out new elixirs, you know what I mean. Ooh, I still have horrible nightmares about that one particular elixir. Ugh. I will say, I think at my last weigh-in, we did one weigh-in back in December. And my last checkup, I lost 15 pounds. Not that I really wanted to lose 15 pounds, but yay me! Well, I cut out a lot of carbs, so naturally that was going to happen. But, this past weekend, I had a bit of a scare. Now, nothing really serious, but what my doctor failed to tell me was there's going to be times where I'm just going to be nauseated. I'm going to be very low energy. And it's not anything detrimental health-wise, or it's not going to send like alarms where I need to call 911. But it was, shall we say, uncomfortable. And when I mentioned it to my doctor, he was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, you're going to feel that way. Hello? But I knew, I had the common sense that maybe it's just because my body's trying to adjust to the lower sugar levels and the lower carbohydrate levels. So I didn't panic, but I was like, hello, you could have given me a heads up, But, I like this doctor. He jokes around with me a lot too, because when he first informed me, okay, you got type 2 diabetes, and he started saying, well, there goes your social life. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. And he just gives me the straight up honest answers, where sometimes, I'm watching other YouTubers give their own advice, and he's like, no, don't follow that. That's not really true. But the other thing I do want to mention is, while I was cleaning out my sewing space, I found the very first iron that I bought for quilting was this $29.95 Shark iron. Oh, here it is. This is almost 7 years old. Now, it still works, but $29.95. I gotta say, it's a good investment. Now, since then, yeah, I sort of upgraded to, well, I can't bring the whole iron because this is just the iron head. Now, if you know this iron, or if you ever follow, Jordan Fabrics, or I think Fat Quarter Shop also uses this particular iron. This is the Rowenta. It's a Perfect Steam, or the Rowenta Perfect Steam. It's marketed as like a professional series iron. And yeah, that'll give you a steam facial. I just cleaned it and it still smells like Doritos. Makes me hungry for carbs. But that iron, when I purchased it, was, I'm ashamed to admit, it's over $200. It was my birthday, so I splurged on myself. But quite honestly, in terms of the $29.95 iron and the $200 iron, I'm not noticing that dramatic of a difference between the performance of the two. Yes, the Rowenta is a good iron, but is it really worth all of that money? Which leads me to a very curious question. What kind of irons do you all have? I know there's probably a huge chunk of you that have that Oliso iron where it goes. I know there's a huge crowd of, Rowenta fans out there. But I'm kind of curious, what irons have you used and what irons do you like? Do you have one that is really expensive or crazy expensive? And then did you use one that was crazy cheap? And was the cheap one actually just as good as the expensive one? Let me know what you guys think. Put a comment down below. Tell me what kind of irons you use right now and what irons you used in the past, and is there really a difference between the two? What is it that you like about the iron? What didn't you like about the iron? Did it last you a long time? Or did it crap out on you pretty quickly? Let me know, I'm kind of curious about that. I got my block, so let's get it pressed and let's call this one done. And here is my double disappearing 9-patch block. Now, My block ended up being 12 inches. Yours could be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, again, just depending upon your seam allowance. Play around with the layout on this block because there's different things, or as you saw, I almost did a different layout, but yeah, I'm kind of keeping to my original design or my original plan. But it's your block, play around with it and make it your own. Now don't forget to join the Treasure Heart Creations Facebook group. The link is down in the description below, and join us on this One Step Forward campaign. Hey, you never know what you can accomplish. And if you want to find out what the giveaway is for this One Step Forward campaign, check out the Facebook group. So how do you like the new format of this video? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Or do you it's okay? Leave a comment down below. Let me know, should I continue on with this format or should I go back to the old format? It's still me with the same shenanigans, just maybe a little bit cleaner. Well, if you want to get a head start for next week's block, well, just make sure you have a whole handful of 1.5 inch squares. That's 1.5 inch squares of prints, and cut up some background fabric too, because we're going to be using those. So, well, until then, go out and create something. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on when I upload the next video. Put a comment down below saying what you liked or maybe even what you didn't like. And join the Facebook discussion group at Treasure Heart Creations. You can post pictures of the blocks that you created, or just scroll through and gather inspiration from other Treasure Heart Creation Group members. And from time to time, there are giveaways exclusively for Treasure Heart Creation Group members. So use the link in the description box below to sign up. If you're on Instagram, post pictures of the blocks that you're working on using the hashtag THC5252. Well, that's it for now. Now go out and create something.